Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Sports Exchange. George Eichhorn is not here. No problem. We have his replacement, Pensman Sports. Welcome, Mr. Pensman, to the big show. Now you're on a show that has a lot of years of tradition, the Sports Exchange, the big daddy of them all on this network. Welcome, Pensman.
Thanks for having me, Scott. Appreciate it.
And what I want you to also do is, since you're on for the first time, give everybody an overview of what you do and so forth.
I do Penguins games. I do Steelers games. I talk about all kinds of Penguins, Steelers, and Yankees.
We got a Pittsburgh guy in the house. Also, our other co-host, regular JV Ellis. Welcome back.
How's it going, guys?
Going well. And last but not least, Candy Ebley, who's going to have a lot of fun working the chat room as well.
Hi, guys. Great to be here tonight.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about the New York quarterback situation for both the Jets and the Giants. We're going to talk about Patrick Ewing tonight. We're going to talk about Cincinnati Bengals, a little bit of Green Bay Packer talk, and we'll have a Shohei Ohtani mention as well. But we have to go out there and give credit to Blows, okay? And go to that first comment. I didn't see you put it up there, Candy. We finally got the no-filter thing to work. Good for you, Blows. I never doubted that you could ever do it, but you finally cracked the nut. More power to you. And, of course, we know Joshua Dorr is going to go out there and talk about his food references. Okay, that isn't bannable offense, but what did you have to pacify this guy? Otherwise, we'll never hear the end of it. What 9 million FaceTimes tomorrow? He wants to know, what do you have for dinner, Pensman?
I don't remember. That was a long time ago.
All right, there you go. You got your answer.
Yeah,
there you go. And don't come on here trying to stick it to them with the Penguins. We know that they're bad, okay?
Yeah.
So that's not necessary. I mean, if you do it for your own kicks, you do it for your own kicks, but that isn't necessary. What is necessary is the fact that we're going to get the show going on. And as I said, New York quarterback woes. The New York Giants, Daniel Jones has been benched. Tommy DeVito, the local kid and local favorite, is the starter. You got Drew Lock as the backup. Joe, obviously, you're from the metropolitan New York area. What are your thoughts about what the Giants are going through?
Listen, Daniel Jones isn't the answer. He wasn't the answer when he was drafted out of Duke. He's not the answer today. He has talent. He's just not the guy, though. Yeah, I mean, you see that he has flashes of talent. He got hurt a couple of years, most of last year. But I think his problem is more psychological. He gets in his own head. Why they're not playing Drew Lock and they're going with Tommy DeVito, I don't understand that. Drew Lock came in and he was supposed to be the number 2 quarterback. They're going to DeVito, who they tried last year, and it was like a circus when he was in there. And that this is kind of what they're doing. They're becoming a circus. Maybe they see something in him this year as opposed to last year that he had a little bit of time playing. He is young. He's undrafted. He is a local kid, but I don't know. I would have went with Locke if I'm trying to win games. But maybe they're not trying to win. Maybe they're looking for the quarterback of the future. And the way to do that's to lose and get a good draft pick. Definitely interesting.
Andy, what are your thoughts?
I also don't understand. I mean, in 2019, they signed second round pick. I mean, Drew Lock to $5 million they're paying him. He was the second going in the camp. They said he was the number 2, that DeVito was number 3, the third string. So why, if you're going to take your first string out, are you going to your third string and not your second? I don't get that either. Unless they want to see what DeVito has in game time situations. I did not. The one thing I didn't look up is who's their opponent this week?
This week is, what was it? Tampa.
And then Dallas next week, isn't it?
Yeah.
So if you're going to put him in, would you really start him against Tampa's defense as opposed to Dallas's? I mean, I guess I don't know, because I don't know what message that would send. If you're going to bench your first string, I don't know that I would put my second string in this week only to put my third string in next week to try him out. But I don't think the third string is going to do well against Tampa Bay's defense. I could be wrong. I guess we'll wait and see. we'll see how motivated he gets the other teammates to play too, to elevate everybody, because maybe that's what the coach is looking to do, is to motivate all of the other teammates to excel their playing to a different level, knowing that he can pull his first string quarterback, he could pull any of the rest of them.
Pensman, your thoughts?
I say just let it sling. They're out of playoff contention, so just let them sling it. Daniel Jones, I knew he wasn't going to be part of it. I knew he wasn't going to be effective. If you know after 6 years, you know what your quarterback is. Like there is no can he do it or can he do it at 6 years. If at 6 years you already know what you have. So, and I would say if just play out the rest of the year, and I would just go after Sanders and see what he can do. JB, you're shaking your head no on that.
I want no part of the Sanders circus.
That's what Deion was talking about today. He was talking about that he might go to the New York Giants.
I hope not.
Well,
Listen, I love Deion. Sorry if I interrupted. I love Deion. I just want no part of that circus. You know,
he might be better than Daniel though.
Scott's better than Daniel. I'm better than Daniel. Candy's better than Daniel.
No,
I would assume you're better than Daniel.
Well, let me tell you this. Okay, first of all, David Cutcliffe did a nice job for the Duke Blue Devils, and I know that was his quarterback. But how on earth can you retain Daniel Jones when you could have kept Saquon Barkley? That, to me, is the worst decision on the planet. Nobody really knows, okay, what Drew Lock is about. So he needs a playing time. So what you may have to do is for 1 or 2 games, see what you have, okay, with the local kid. But Drew Lock should be getting the Lions' share of the playing time is what they should do. And Brian Daboll, you're trying to save your job, or are you? That's the thing I'm not sure about. But seriously?
I think he gave up on it.
Yeah, well,
I don't know.
Maybe he did. I don't know. It's hard to tell.
Maybe the game plan is to lose and get a quarterback, and he's safe, and we just don't know it. I mean, there's a lot that happens behind the scenes, I'm sure, but I don't get it at all.
Yeah, the move is mind-boggling that Tommy DeVito will be in. But the amazing part about it is if he actually has a pretty good game, next week we might be biting our tongue for at least a week, but we'll see how it plays out. But Joe wrote a story on it, and you'll have an opportunity to read it on Sideline Sports as well as the South Florida Tribune for sure. And just to let everybody know that when you read that story, this video will be in here so you can go ahead and get all of our opinions on what Joe put together. All right,
my other question to you guys is what message does that send to Drew Lock? Like, how happy is he now? Like, oh, you're going to go from the first string and you're going to just bypass me? And who?
Well, they had him on, I want to say it was Sports Center earlier today. He was being interviewed. And you saw the disbelief and like the way he was answering. Very, he answered it properly so that it wouldn't cause any drama. But you saw exactly by what he said and how he said it that there was an issue, which I don't blame him because I would have the same problem if I'm supposed to be number 2 and number 1's getting benched, it's my job, But
I saw the same interview earlier.
Yeah,
and he didn't look happy at all.
No, but he did answer it the right way to kind of let it die down. But
he just had that body language, like you could tell he was upset about it.
I mean, we could all read the room. It was ugly.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the New York Jets. And here's an interesting stat here.
Discount.
Yeah, there you go. Let alone. All right, we know. I was waiting for him to come up with that, but let's go ahead. And I want you to digest some facts here, Pensman. I know that's our first opportunity to do it. And I'm having a lot of fun with you, my brother. Mark my word. This is a lot of fun adding this guy to the lineup. But discount, double check, call what you want. They're not paying my bills anyway. But let's talk about the New York Jets. Aaron Rodgers is 3-8. He has a winning percentage in the 270s, like 27%. But last season, through weeks 1 through 6, the Jets scored 113 points. 113 points in weeks 1 through 6 weeks. And you're going to find out, okay, Penman, I like to throw a lot of stats. I am one of those stat guys, and that's what I've learned as long as I have.
No, I've been watching you.
Well, there you go. You know how I operate.
Mhm.
So this season, weeks 1 through 6, guess what? 113 points. My goodness. Isn't that unbelievable how you can have the same exact amount of points 2 years in a row? One with Rodgers, the other one with Zach Wilson. And of course, now I think the Jets are probably going to wish that maybe Zach Wilson wasn't as bad as they ran him out of town, let alone Sam Darnold, but that's another point. But can you believe that the two stats would be identical in 2 years, let alone they have the Rodgers 1 year and not the other? First, Benjamin, I'll give you first crack at this one.
I don't know what to say. I just know that the Jets have been in every game. They almost beat the Steelers. I was actually sweating during that game, but they're in almost every game. They just have that one miscue, and that's it. But Aaron Rodgers is playing like Aaron Rodgers. Like, he can come up in the clutch. It's just he has enough pieces. It's just like that one stop that defense can't make. So
Okay. That's fair enough. Candy?
yeah.
The Jets are, how should I put this? So dysfunctional. What they did, allowing Aaron Rodgers to tell the team, take this player, move this player, bring all my guys here. Now, let's face it, he wasn't winning Super Bowls in Green Bay left and right with all those same guys. So really, am I sad that he pulled them that way? No. But what precedent does that set? Because now you got your GM fired and your head coach fired. He was injured last year. He's not the same guy. I mean, sorry, Pensman. I watched him for years
No
in Green
offense
Bay,
here.
No
And offense here.
He's just not the same. He is still a very brilliant man. Like, he is very smart, don't get me wrong.
Yes.
But he doesn't have the same physicality. His arm strength, I don't believe, is quite the same. And the chemistry, I don't believe, is the same either. And I think part of it is because he has such a head for himself before he has a head for the team. We like to compare and say what's going on. Like, he's trying to play as long as Brady. He wants this. The one thing Brady did that Aaron hasn't done is Brady took cuts in his pay to give money to the rest of his team to get better talent and to pay the talent that they had there. Aaron Rodgers has not done that. He does not do that. He's in it for himself. And that, I think, speaks volumes, not just with all of us, but with his teammates. Like, they see that. They see what's going on. And I just don't think what he brings to that locker room anymore benefits that locker room.
Well, Boomer Esiason, we talked about it last night on Inside the Pitch, and again, like everybody else is piling on the Rodgers, this guy fracturing the locker room is what he's doing. He really, really, really is. And, you know, I've always respected Boomer Esiason, not only as a player, but he's done a good job in the broadcasting field. And we all know that Aaron Rodgers wants it his own way anyhow. But before I say any more, Joe, you know, obviously I've always said this. I've always liked Brett Favre better than Aaron Rodgers. But go ahead, Joe.
Well, I mean, you know, Aaron Rodgers, with the talent he had around him at Green Bay and the situations they were in to get one Super Bowl, is sad. Wasted talent.
Right.
What he did to the Jets and the Jet fans more than the Jets was sold them a damaged bill of goods. You know, he got all his guys here. Everybody the last 2 years has said the Jets are going to be Super Bowl contenders. Granted, last year he got hurt 4 plays into the season. I don't hold him responsible for that one. But he came back this year, and that they're not on the same page anywhere. They got rid of Salah, you know, to the middle of the year. They changed play callers. They brought in Devontae Adams. You can't make all these changes, wholesale changes, and do well in the NFL. It doesn't work that way. I've never seen consistently teams switch coaches in the middle of the year, win a Super Bowl, or even make the playoffs. It doesn't happen. Not that Saleh was a great coach, because he didn't do a great job at all. But at the same time, your GM shouldn't be playing quarterback. And he doesn't look interested sometimes when you watch some of the games. He's not a leader. Like Candy says, he is about himself. Now, as far as giving up the money, I don't hold him responsible for that. I'm not going to give up money for my teammates unless I'm sure I'm going to win. And I give Brady a lot of credit for that, but I don't know if I would do that. So I give him, I'm not going to fault Rodgers for that, but I'm going to fault him for missing mini camps and everything else and just showing up when he pleases rather than trying to build the team together. And that was the one thing I loved about Matt LaFleur, how he kept the team together at Rodgers last year there, and how good he coached them last year with Love's first year starting. Because there was so much drama around that team, and yet he kept everyone together. So I think he's an excellent coach. But, Rodgers, like Candy said, it's all about Rodgers. It's not about anybody else. If you look at his body language, it's me. And it's not working.
JB, think of this. Brady took cuts in pay, and I get that you might not do the same thing. I get that. Brady also had a family to mouths to feed. Aaron has nobody. He's not feeding a family. He's already made how many millions of dollars? And I get, when you're playing in the league, you want to get as much money as you can because you're only going to play for a limited shelf life. I get that. But he's also already made millions and millions and millions of dollars that he doesn't have a family to share it with. And he could have taken some cuts, I believe, to help elevate some of the other people. Now, I get not everybody would do that. And I get, would I do that? But I'm like, yeah, but I'm not making that kind of money either. So I don't know that I wouldn't do that if I were making that kind of money.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, okay? And when we think about Rodgers as a whole, Robert Saleh, to me, had him playing respectable, competitive football. He really did. The defense was way better. The interim guy hadn't done anything with the defense at all. And all of a sudden you make that change and the interim guy hadn't done anything. But let's take a look at how busy the Jets have been. On October 8th, they fired Robert Saleh. Monday, they lost on 10-14, to the Buffalo Bills at home. And then on October 15th, they traded for Devontae Adams. And then you go out there and cap it off yesterday when they fired GM Joe Douglas.
Right.
People, that's a lot of changes. You see the writing on the wall that there will be a divorce with Rodgers. And I think that even Woody Johnson wanted to get Rodgers benched against the Denver Broncos, but none of that took place. So Aaron Rodgers, to me, you would think at some point or another, you're not going to make it with the Jets, but don't make yourself look like an idiot in case another team were to bother to ask you to play a year. This is a bad look and a bad act for him all the way. And, hey, I give Matt LaFleur credit for hanging in there with it. Robert Saleh tried as hard as he could to work with him. Things didn't get better with the interim guy. Then you got Devontae Adams. You've had everything you've wanted, and you haven't done a thing on the field. And the fact that you're worse than Zach Wilson and Sam Darnold says an awful lot about the fact that this guy is overrated.
Ouch.
And he is overrated. I'll tell you, he's the most overrated quarterback I've seen. I just love Brett Favre only because he played so many games is what he did. And you know what? He didn't bring the drama that Rodgers did, albeit he was waffling if he wanted to play every year, but not to the extent that Mr. Rodgers did. All right, well, obviously the chat room is in demand. Okay, Candy.
I have one question for the podium.
Go ahead.
Candy said something about Tom Brady. If Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers trained, I know it's a little late, but if Aaron Rodgers start training like Tom Brady, will he be like Tom Brady in his 40s? You're still saying no? Or are you thinking?
He has no heart.
Yeah,
Tom Brady
Because
is a winner.
the way he trained is so phenomenal. It's you either love him or hate him, and I hate him. But the way he trains is like so phenomenal. How he trains though, and I'm just trying to figure out if Aaron Rodgers starts training the way Brady does a little bit. I don't know if he
Aaron
his numbers.
Aaron Rodgers goes in a black room, and thinks about what he should be doing and stuff like that. I honestly I don't think so. I think Aaron Rodgers is not in it for the team. I think he's in
Right.
it for himself, and I think
Okay.
that makes big. I think that makes a big difference.
Okay.
Brady has heart
Mhm.
and determination. Brady is about winning at all costs. He doesn't care about anything else. Losing is
Right.
unacceptable. Rodgers is about give me my paycheck, give me what I want, and that's the way it's going to be. And if not, I'm going to complain. I'm going to look like a fool, and I don't care because that's what I want. He did it in Green Bay where he was basically a god of Green Bay. He could have ran the city, but instead he made everyone hate him. You know how hard that is to do in Green Bay? Green Bay is probably one of the nicest cities in the world as far as people. And if you're a Packer, you're a god. And you win a Super Bowl as a Packer and the quarterback, yeah, whatever you want. But he turned the whole city against him because he's selfish.
Yeah, well, you know what?
Right.
The fact that I can describe Rodgers with one word: relax, because that's what he does with his brain and his work ethic. Relax, people, relax. Okay, Aaron? Well, relax. I'll go into a black room and talk to nobody and talk to whoever out there, the Sultan of Rodgers or whatever. I'm going to go in there, and you know what I'm going to do during COVID? I'm going to get immunized. Never even heard of the word until this idiot came up with it. Immunized. You ever heard of that word before? Immunized? I haven't. I haven't until this guy comes along.
That's what he's going to do. He's going to teach you new words.
Get you immunized. Yeah. Is that in the English dictionary? It's a word in the English dictionary. Maybe that might be closer to it. There's a lot of people who use it. But immunize people. This guy wants you to immunize and relax. And you know what I love about my chat room? I like it when they're relaxed too. At times.
So I want to answer. I want to answer.
I don't know how.
I want to answer one of Joshua's questions. Pensman, do you know Ralph Williams? Joshua, that means you have not watched Fire Up on Thursday nights because Pensman has joined the crew on Thursday nights that has Ralph and myself and Jeremy on it. So on Fire Up. So catch him with all of us. So yes, he does know Ralph. Sorry to answer that for you, Pensman, but
no, you're good. You're good. And Ralph is a good guy too.
Yes.
Yeah, Ralph, you don't hurt nobody.
And
I like Ralph.
Can we answer Blaz's question? I think you should buy all of us some Bitcoin. I think Candy needs like 20. I need 20. Scott needs 20. And Pensman needs 20. So when you make that happen, then you can ask more questions.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Blaz, I know you're making a lot of money. You flash it on your FaceTime calls. You can handle it. And I'll tell you what, in the future, if you ever make any stupid comments, I'll fine you your Bitcoin. I don't mind fining you. Who cares? Doesn't matter, Blaz. It's all good. It's all love. I still give you and Joshua Tor credit for cracking the no filter thing of a jogger nut, but relax, Joshua. Relax, Blaz. And get immunized.
Come on, chat. Hit that like. Hit that chat. Come on, chat. Hit that like.
Yeah, there you go. How do we get these going? We got to make sure these guys get really engaged here, regardless of what they put up. Well, there are limitations. But, we got to keep blows and we got to keep Joshua Dore in it. After all, we don't want to hurt their feelings if we forget one or two here and there. But I guarantee one thing we're not going to forget is we're going to go out there and give a station break so that these guys will get what they want. So, all right, I'll take a break. Joshua blows everybody. Candy gets a station break. But Joshua blows. Relax.
The South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book late last year, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by your host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth. It is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. It talks about Scott's 40-plus years in the media industry and how it has changed, old school media versus new school media. It's a great read. Get your copy today, or better yet, buy it as a gift for someone else. There's also a link for it on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where there is also a link to our merchandise store where you can get all kinds of South Florida Tribune merchandise, or if you want Motor City Madmouth merchandise, go check it out. Scott writes, JB Ellis writes, and I take pictures. It's all on the website, so go check it out. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to be a guest or you want us to cover a certain topic, send us an email, southfloridatribune@gmail.com. If you want to advertise or sponsor a show, call Scott, 954-304-4941. Okay, Scott, back to you.
All right, well, Joshua Dorr here. Let's put his recent comment up because you get to go ahead and address this one of the station break. All right, go ahead, Candy. You're in charge of the chat room.
Joshua Dorr will relax when the chat gets acknowledged more. Ever since the JS situation, the chat gets severely neglected. No, Josh, it just depends on what topic we're talking about. And if you're commenting on the topic that we're talking about, we'll include the chat. But if you're going completely off topic, we have to wait until we're done with the topic before we start going back to the chat. That's what I'm going to tell you about the chat.
Yeah, and Joshua Dorr, just so you know, you have an open invitation anytime you want, okay, to come on the show. And I guarantee you'll definitely not go ahead, and we will make sure you get all the airtime that you can handle. I'm telling you, Joshua Dorr, we feel like we got a talented broadcaster. Come out of your cotton-picking chat room and join the party, Joshua Dorr, okay, because I got news for you. You're better on the air than you think you are. I'm telling you. I won't mention Jesus Christ Superstar. Who the hell do you think you are? Well, that's Joshua Dorr. That's him. I don't sing, but if I had one, I'd break a Memorex glass anyways. And nobody wants to ever hear me sing to begin with. It's not really healthy for the ears. Otherwise, you're going to need hearing aids a whole lot faster. Okay. I like my place as a producer of the hockey show. Delusional, because he's not on. But okay. But, you know, the fact that it does come on there. So whatever, Josh. If you want to continue to have all this stuff on here, then we'll make you the star of the show, and we'll just be the other ducks out here in the back so we can bring all the attention to Joshua Dorr, because I have a feeling that he just wants it anyways. Am I having fun? You bet. Hey, you know what? This is better than a dartboard or a piñata. But Joshua Dorr is acting like both of them tonight. But at least he cracked the no-filter situation. Is that meaningful air? Yeah, meaningless. Who cares? But I will tell you this. In October, New York Nets legend Patrick Ewing rejoined the organization as a basketball ambassador. Joe, what do you think of the fact that Patrick Ewing is going to be going home to MSG?
Listen, I mean, he was one of the greatest Knicks of all time. You know, that never hurt to have him involved with the organization. He always wanted to be a head coach in the NBA. Didn't work out as of yet. He coached at Georgetown for a little bit. Didn't do very well there. I didn't watch much Georgetown basketball while he was there. But from what I saw, the limited amount, I don't think he was ready to be a coach. But he's an overall good guy, and it would never hurt to have a guy like that with the organization.
Well, I'm going to tell you the biggest misjustice that I've ever seen in my life is the fact that Patrick Ewing never got an NBA head coaching job. And I'm going to even say that. Another big misjustice, it was ahead of its time, was Mean Joe Green not getting an NFL head coaching job. And I remember talking to Mean Joe Green many years ago out in Arizona when he was a assistant coach under Dave McGinnis. And I'll tell you, I have talked to him about that Coca-Cola commercial. I said, man, Mean Joe, you were so darn good in that as much as people will acknowledge for what you did on defense with the steel curtain. Okay, and I know Penman should feel pretty at home with this comment because they're in Pittsburgh. Okay,
I do.
He did unbelievable with that Coca-Cola commercial. I gave the guy a hug and shook his hand, and he was just so great. Mean Joe isn't Mean Joe. Maybe he is on the field when you have to be, okay, but it is what it is. So, but Patrick Ewing, to me, should have gotten a head coaching job in the NBA. I'll never forget the time I'm sitting behind the New York Knicks bench, and he's sitting there, and he gave me a nice smile and gave me a nice wink, you know, as though it was a wink of a friend. You know what I mean? So Patrick and I got to say, and I did see him in the Final Four up in 1982 in New Orleans when North Carolina won it all, and I was able to go with a friend of mine as a fan. It was an unbelievable experience, and I always telling people that, you know what, John Thompson can't really get on his case for going out there and having too many goaltenders. What are you going to tell your best center to go out there and not be aggressive? And he never did. I'll take the goaltending, just guard the basket. Of course, nowadays they don't know what guarding the basket is. Candy, your thoughts about Patrick Ewing being with the Knicks again?
I think it's a brilliant move for them. He had a great career as a Knick. Fan favorite. He's regarded as one of the greatest of all time to play, greatest centers of all time to play. He, just because you played the game does not mean that is going to equate to you being a good coach. And so many things have changed in today's coaching compared to when he was playing. And what I mean about that is, and I get he's not coaching right now for Georgetown, but NIL, the transfer portal, so many things are different, moving parts that you're constantly recruiting, and not every coach is up for that. So I don't begrudge him for anything or leaving the college coaching. It's not easy. It's not an easy job. And everybody's talking about how things are a win now mode. Let's face it. FAU just fired their football coach. Hasn't even been 3 seasons. It was in the middle of his second season. And they're already saying, you know what, we're moving on from you. It's a win now in every single sport, in college or pro these days. And so I think it was a good move for them to bring him on because he played from the Knicks from 85 to 2000. He was well loved, well received. Most people know him. He's recognizable. He's great for them and their sport. That's what I'm going to say.
Dave Pensman.
Like Candy said, Patrick Ewing was one of the greats. When I was a kid, I used to follow Michael Jordan around. I was a big Jordan fan. I wanted to be like Jordan when I was younger. I played basketball when I was younger. I wanted to be like him when I was younger. And he had so many matchups against Patrick Ewing. And Patrick Ewing was one of the great centers, like Candy said. But with him being with the Knicks, I thought he was going to be a Knicks coach prior to this, after we retired. But they never looked at him. So him coming back to the Knicks is perfect.
Pat Riley wanted so bad to get Patrick Ewing a ring.
Yeah,
he really did. Just like Don Nelson many years ago wanted to get Bob Lanier a ring. There's certain people in sports that you want to get a ring for in the worst way. Don Nelson with Bob Lanier and Pat Riley, okay, with the Knicks. And by the way, a little footnote on Pat Riley. The Lakers are honoring him with a statue pretty soon. Kudos to the Lakers for doing that. I just want to make mention that we don't have to comment on that. We have other things to get to. But let's talk about the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yes.
I still will not count them. Yeah, I know. I know. Pen's excited. So at one point, okay, let's just set the stage here for my man Penman. Okay, the Bengals still a playoff team. Let's put it this way.
How?
Hold on, just a minute, Penman.
Okay.
I love your enthusiasm for this one. I knew when you were coming on, I had to put this topic on.
That's right.
So I know what I've got here with you, Penman. So let me go ahead and get this thing out all the way, and I'm going to start off with you. All right.
Go ahead.
Are the Bengals still a playoff team? Well, you still have Joe Burrow, but only 2.6% of the teams that started 0-3 that made the playoffs. The Bengals are currently 4-7. They have a bye week, and then they get to face Penman Team Pittsburgh. All right, go ahead. This is your chance if you want to talk trash about Cincinnati. Penman, the floor is yours.
How can you say that they're a playoff team? They can't even. They're starting to get their offense back, and I think it's too late. They're 4-7. It's getting close. The most they can do is like 8-8, 9. It's like all the rest of the teams, the Chiefs, the Bills, Steelers, Ravens, they're all ahead of them. It's just, I think they're out of time. It's just not. It's not possible.
Coming from a true Pittsburgh Steeler, I can see why.
We play each other twice.
I know.
Yeah.
As I said, coming from a true Pittsburgh Steeler, I can see why.
Yeah. Go ahead, prove me wrong, but I think they're just out of time. They've lost too many games.
You're wrong. I think they probably are out of time. But I knew you were coming on the show. I had to find a topic that would get your goat, and I evidently managed to do it, didn't I, Benjamin?
As soon as you said my division, that's what fires me up, because you gotta win. You gotta win the division games. That's my motto of my channel. Anybody that watches my channel knows that's my division. You gotta win the division games, and the Steelers they're locked. I mean, they're locked. They got Russell Wilson. They're using Justin Fields on third down. They're talking about using them in the wild card in the wildcat formation and red zone, which they need to work on. I just can't see it. If they get in, it's by conference, not by division. Am I wrong? Am I wrong?
No, you're. I think you're right on target.
Yeah.
I think the one thing you're missing, though, Penman, I'm going to tell you straight on this show.
Go ahead.
The fact that Mike Tomlin, if they had let him go, he would have had more phone calls. You can imagine he'd have gotten the job tomorrow. Mike Tomlin, to me, is a heck of a coach.
Oh, yeah.
You forgot that one, but I had to make sure we got it all in. All right, Candy.
So they play the Steelers twice yet. They're not winning those games. The Steelers are playing good. They play the Cowboys at the Cowboys. Let's face it, they can win that game. They play at the Titans. They play versus the Browns at home, versus the Broncos. Now, you never know what Bronco team is going to show up, because the Broncos have been very wishy-washy. They've been playing better as of late, and I think they have their quarterback doing well. So are they going to win at least 3 of those games? Because even if they only win 3 of those games, that still puts them 7 and yeah, they're not going to make. I mean, they've made strides, but yeah, they're not. I don't think they're making playoffs.
They'll be 7-10.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think that
win out.
puts them in.
Okay, Joe.
Yeah, they're 3 games out behind Denver, with 6 to go, and 2 games against the Steelers. It was a great year. Sit Joe Burrow. We could give you Tommy DeVito, start him, let Drew Lock play for the Giants, or work that out. But it's not happening this year. If it does, I would be amazed, because it's beyond recognition. I mean, the Steelers would have to have whatever seed they are locked up and not care, and let the Bengals beat them. But even with the rest of the schedule, they're not going to win every one of those games. They're not that good of a team.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say to close out the topic is there will not be a Cincinnati Bengals sighting in New Orleans at the Caesars Superdome. All right, well, you know what? We're going to Candy's neck of the woods. Green Bay Packers. Matt LaFleur and Malik Willis, I cannot articulate the job that he's done in a short period of time. People can't fathom that, I promise you. I'm going to tell you something. When the Green Bay Packers got Malik Willis for next to nothing, you talk about the best insurance policy you could get for Jordan Long. This guy was it. He didn't get an opportunity, a fair opportunity with the Tennessee Titans. And now he's got a guy like Matt LaFleur who appreciates him. He's working in Green Bay. And all you have to do is win a few games and play real well just to be able to go out there and be a contributor. And I think Malik Willis is the best kept secret. So if you want to do your discount double check again, Penman, remember one thing, okay? This guy deserves it more than Mr. Rogers, because he was the insurance that the Packers needed in order to stay in the playoff hunt. If anybody differs with me, put it in the chat. But Malik Willis has been an excellent story for the Packers this year. We all see where the Titans have gone. They obviously have had their problems, and it's not getting any easier. So, Penman, go ahead. What are your thoughts about Matt LaFleur talking about Malik Willis?
I think he's a good coach, and I don't like the Packers because don't take this offensive, Candy, but the Steelers should have beaten the Packers in that Super Bowl. If Mendenhall did not fumble that ball, the Steelers would have 7 right now. But that was then. This is now. But I think he's a good coach. Malik Willis, I think he was awesome coming into the draft. I was hoping the Steelers would draft him because it was right around Ben's retirement. I was hoping, but with Tennessee, he did not do anything in Tennessee that was worthwhile. What the Packers are doing with him is amazing.
Hey, Candy, go ahead.
I think this just goes to show you that some players excel with certain teams, with certain coaches around you.
Mm-hmm.
He walked into a situation, let's face it, they threw him in the situation once Jordan Love went down so early on. He's completed 74, almost 75% of his passes in the games that he did play. He has a quarterback rating of 130. That's pretty darn good for your backup quarterback. Like we just talked about the Giants going from their first string quarterback to their third, and here we're talking about Malik Willis. Now, what I will say is, it was a brilliant move to bring someone like Malik Willis in because our alternative was not at all where we needed it to be. So I give the GM our credit for bringing Malik in there. And then I really give credit to Malik for working that week and the weeks after to get up to par, and for the coaches to coach and the rest of the team, because obviously this is a team sport and a quarterback only excels if he has a supporting cast around him. The offensive line have to, protect him. The running backs, you have to be both sides of the ball. Otherwise, if you become one-dimensional, you're not going to excel. And then the receivers have to be on the same page. And let's face it, catching passes from different quarterbacks is different. Some of them have more velocity on them. Some of them have more of a touch throw. Some of them, Malik has to get with them. How fast do they run? How slow do they run? Do they know which the route that they're supposed to be running? So there's a lot to quarterbacks with their receivers and gelling quickly. We always talk in the beginning of the season, the first game of the year, that nobody looks good because nobody's got that down pat, the timing, the routes exactly, because a lot of these quarterbacks don't play in the preseason. And we talk about that a lot. So I give Malik a lot of credit.
Well, let's not forget one thing. Every position has their own room, right? Quarterback, running back, and everything. You got to have a good quarterback room, whether it's you have the practice squad guys intermixing with the regulars. And, I've always said you're one play away from entering the football game. You are. And, of course, they had the emergency quarterback. But the reality of the situation is Malik Willis was a major upgrade, and you need 2 or 3 good quarterbacks in case your main guy goes down. I can sit here and go into a million examples about having great backup quarterbacks through the years, but I don't have the time to do it. But I will say one that does stand out in my mind, living in this neck of the woods in southern Florida, when Bob Greasy went down, Earl Morrall went ahead and took over, and he was a big part of that undefeated season. The Dolphins won the Super Bowl. But that's just one of many, many examples. So, Joe, what are your thoughts about the impact that Malik Willis has had, that Matt LaFleur is probably his biggest fan?
So, I mean, right off the bat, though, you look at other teams. The Miami Dolphins this year, Tua went down. They had no quarterback play. So how big and how important is it to have that quality backup quarterback? And Malik Willis did everything that's asked of him. He came in, not as the starter, not even competing for the starting job, knowing he was a backup after he was a starter in the league, and was told, you're going to back up and you're going to learn our system. And hopefully you never get to play, because nobody ever wants to put the backup quarterback in. And Jordan Love got hurt. Malik Willis had to go in there, and he did nothing but excel. Got to give him a lot of credit for that. That's all you ever want out of your backup, to be ready for when your time is called. And again, it goes to the Packers organization. They're a good organization. I'm not a Packers fan. I don't like the Packers, but they do things the right way. You know, they have a
Mhm.
good coach, they have a good general manager, and they have a good culture. And that's why they're way ahead of their rebuild than where they should have been right now. This team should not be where they are right now if you look when Aaron Rodgers left. But where are they? They're somewhat of a chance to win the division. I mean, Detroit's on another level, but they still have a chance. That's amazing. Who would think that would be possible?
And William, you are correct. The Packers have an average age of 25.11 years old. They are the youngest team in the NFL this season because Preston Smith was traded. They only have one player over the age of 30. One player over the age of 30. So,
Hey, Scott.
yes, they're the youngest team this year. Again.
So let me ask you guys a question. Why don't you put William Carafa's question up there, and anybody can answer it? Best young team in your minds that just needs to develop more. That's an excellent question, William. I like it. You want it? Penson, you take a shot at it first, or we'll go around the horn with that.
I don't know. That's a good question, but nothing's
good
coming to
question.
mind.
Okay, that's fair. You don't know, you don't know. Candy, what do you think?
Best young team in your minds that just needs to. I mean, I would say the Packers right now, they need to develop more. They're not hitting their stride yet, but I think they have a chance. I mean, I can tell you the three youngest in the league right now are the Packers. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are the second with an average age of 25.59, and the Rams are third at 25.7.
You
Okay.
might add the Cowboys now because of all the injuries.
Yeah, don't get me started.
I'm just saying, Candy. You might
That's
want to add the Cowboys.
Well, and the Packers were one of the youngest teams in NFL history to win a playoff game because they were one of the youngest teams last year as well. So I give kudos to the coach again, to the coaching staff and to the players wanting to play together as a team. Because I think it is a lot about the culture and what's in that locker room. Are you there to help other people, or are you there for your stats and your stats alone?
If I have to answer that, Scott, it'd probably be the Bears.
Okay. Well,
That's a good
not bad.
choice.
Yeah, I
Because-
think that's a good choice.
Because you got JD Moore, you got Moore, you got Caleb Williams that's trying to figure out what to do in the system. He's got some good numbers games and some terrible games, but Caleb's still trying to figure out what to do in the league.
I should like that. I don't know how old the Washington Commanders are, but I do know they have a great young quarterback.
Yeah, Jaden
But I'm going
Daniels
to tell you
is
one
awesome.
thing. I like the Washington Commanders. They're showing me a lot, and they have an excellent coach in Dan Quinn. So
Yeah,
this is a
Jaden Daniels
team-
is awesome.
this is a
The
team to
Commanders
watch
are
out
actually
for.
25th,
Oh, were they really?
and the Bears are 20th.
That's surprising.
Well, I'll still
Youngest
take
to
the
oldest.
Commanders anyways. I don't care. I like this team. Go ahead, Joe. What are your thoughts?
I'm going to go with the Chargers. Their skill positions on offense are all either a couple of years in or rookies, you know, and they're finally getting developed because they were just thrown on an island. This week, the Chargers did something they never do. They won a game that they probably should have lost because they collapsed. But now with Jim Harbaugh there, you know, the total culture of the team changed. They showed up. Dobbins got a key run to seal the game. You know, they're playing different football. It's a different organization right now. And, you know, in all honesty, if they keep developing, I think that they can challenge Kansas City for that division next year or the year after.
What Harbaugh's done with Herbert is awesome.
Yep.
He's developed him to be a good quarterback.
Yeah.
Okay. Last topic of the night, then we go to parting shots. And I want to talk about Shohei Ohtani. Shohei Ohtani hit 51 home runs and 51 stolen bases, and he had 9 games to go on the schedule when I found his stat. Here's what he wound up with: 54 home runs and 59 stolen bases, and he won a World Series. You talk about a guy that made an unbelievable change staying in Southern California from the Angels to the Dodgers. This was unbelievable, Shohei Ohtani. So as again, this initial stat when he broke the 50-50 club was 51 and 51. And 54 home runs and 59 stolen bases and a World Series ring isn't bad. What are your thoughts, Kensman, about Shohei Ohtani?
I don't like him. I don't like him. I respect him, but I don't like him. I respect that he can game. I don't like how I don't like how he took one of his pitchers from me. We had a good deal with one of the Japanese pitchers. I can't think of it. Scott, you know who I'm talking about. It's right. It's one of the relief pitchers for the Dodgers, but the Yankees had him. I'm a huge Yankees fan. If you guys don't know, they're out here, but the Yankees had him locked. I mean, Aaron Boone went to winter meetings and talked and talked and talked, and Ohtani comes over. He's like, "Yo, come over to my house. We'll have dinner and so forth." Right after that, boom, Dodgers got him, and I was like, ah. So I respect him. It's just I don't know. He's one of those players that get under your skin because you keep hearing about him. It's like a younger Brady, and you keep hearing about him.
Well, he seems to have gotten under your skin.
He does.
All right, Candy, what are your thoughts? Kensman, you're unbelievable, brother.
How do you not respect a player that does all that he does? He hits home runs, he has hits, he steals bases, he pitches, and he plays. I mean, he's a two-way player. When's the next time you think you're going to see a two-way player as successful as he is? Not just a two-way player. Like, he's truly successful at both sides of it. I mean, whether you like him or hate him, whether he's on your team or not on your team, you have to respect him as a player.
Candy, go ahead and review Williams' next thing. This is what I'm talking about. William hit that rate perfectly. Right there. I hate him, but I love him at the same time. It's one of those Jeff Gordon's Dale Earnhardt Sr. moments.
Okay.
You hate him, but you love him at the same time. It's like, dang it, do something bad.
Hey, William, we appreciate your contributions tonight to the chat room. Great stuff, pal. So go ahead, Candy. Are you done with your thought about Ohtani?
I mean, most people root for their team. But here's a guy that I get it. You want to see success, but you don't want to see success. But I give him a lot of credit for all the success he's already had. And he's not from the United States. Like, he's had to do it coming over here. So, yeah.
Okay. Joe?
Listen, he is arguably in the conversation as one of the greatest baseball players of all time. So he proved that again this year, because we were talking about that before this year. So, in 20, 30 years, when we say who's the greatest baseball player of all time, used to be Ruth, Mantle, Mays, Bonds. Now it'll be those four names, and Ohtani will be thrown in there. No one will ever be wrong, whoever you pick, because all of them are phenomenal, and you can't compare because they never play together. But I mean, you can't go wrong with any of them, and that's the way Ohtani's career has been.
I'm going to say this about Shohei Ohtani, like him or not. The Japanese ratings for the World Series were off the charts. Their numbers were unbelievable. And I'll say this, more power to him. The only problem he had with the Angels, they didn't put players around him that could win. Don't blame him for leaving. Stayed in Southern California. The Dodgers will buy anything they want, and they'll keep winning with that budget or lack thereof that they have. So Ohtani's good for the game. I remember talking to Don Mattingly over at Lone Depot Park about Ohtani, and Don and I had a great talk about him. And Candy, we put a video up there that got an awful lot of views, didn't we? Close to over 2,000, let alone because you had Don Mattingly talking about Shohei Ohtani. That to me was unbelievable. But Shohei's good for the game. He's good for the international game. And I hope that as the Hall of Fame voting comes to a conclusion in January that another Japanese player gets in there by the name of Ichiro Suzuki, because a guy like Ichiro Suzuki paved the way for guys like Shohei Ohtani to get in, and I'll even go back. Hideki Matsui, the Yankee, as well, is another guy that should be recognized. So these
Right on.
These Japanese players here are doing an unbelievable job coming to the United States. And I'll tell you one thing, their home people are following them. Candy and I went ahead and covered a Angels game in spring training, and my buddy Tim Mead was the PR guy and got us in there. And I'll never forget the amount of Japanese reporters that were over there. It was just unbelievable at Tempe Diablo Stadium there. So Shohei Ohtani is everything good for the game. And being with the Dodgers, you can't ask for a much better fit. You really can't. So more power to Shohei. Now is our point in the show where we talk about parting shots. Pensman, do you have one? Talk about what you want.
I want to say that Penguins need to fix something. Something. I don't care what it is. They are horrible. They can't keep a lead. I don't know if it's the GM. I don't know if it's the coach. They need to do something. I want to talk about this. The Winnipeg Jets are coming into town, and you guys talked about last Wednesday that they were undefeated. I think they lost a game since then, but the Penguins need to do something in order to get some fight into them. They were 1 point back of the playoffs, and then they slipped back. That's what irks me. It's like, what do they need to do? I talked to my subscribers. They said that this is the worst start in NHL history. What do you guys think? I know you guys, I don't know if you guys follow hockey, but I know you watch ESPN, and I know you watch like some standings. I just want your input.
Well, my input is this. Penguins won for an awful lot of years, and when you win for a lot of years, you're not going to get the better draft choices, and you're going to fall off, and you're going to have to rebuild. That's what happens with every great team.
Right.
And the players are getting older. That's pretty much the nature of it.
Okay.
I mean, that happened with the Detroit Red Wings a lot of years, 25 straight years in the playoffs, right? And what do you think happens? Well, you can't keep living off of late round picks, let alone late round, first round picks. A lot of your better players are there. But do you want to win, or you're going to lose for a period of time? That just goes to them. But the Penguins had their run of Stanley Cups. Red Wings did as well.
Right. We played each other. We played each other 2 years in a row, back to back, 2 years in 08 and 09.
Well, they were good rivals even before, while they were in the same conference many years ago before they went over. So the Red Wings and Penguins have always.
Yeah.
But my opinion is, if you're going to start having rough years for a while, at least you were able to enjoy the fruits of your labor, and you got cups in your pocket.
Right.
Okay, that's what I think. And of course, William mentions the Golden State Warriors. There you go, another great example. Thanks, William. All right, Candy, what are your thoughts? Oh, well, no, give me your parting shots. That was his parting shot.
My parting shot is kudos to the Baseball Writers Association of America. On Tuesday, 27 of 30 ballots came through for Pat Murphy to win National League Manager of the Year in his first year as Brewers manager. He is the first Brewers manager to win Manager of the Year. He turns 26 on November 28th. And he just did a phenomenal job. Let's face it. When Craig Counsell left to go to the Cubs, everybody thought the Brewers aren't going to do anything this year. It's going to be a rebuilding year. We saw lots of changes, and yet a first-time manager won Manager of the Year. So kudos to the job he did, how he rallied, how he got the team behind him. And if you saw his acceptance speech, he accepted it on Zoom, and his son is in the background. So it was a cool moment. Kudos to him, and kudos to the baseball writers for getting it right.
Okay. Joe, what's your parting shot?
So tonight I had some time in between shows, and I got to watch a movie. The movie was Greater on Netflix. It was about Brandon Burlsworth, who was a walk-on to Arkansas in the 90s. and drafted by the Indianapolis Colts. He ended up getting killed in a car accident after he was drafted, never played in the NFL. What a great movie, though. And what a great inspirational figure he was. If you like movies like Rudy, this is definitely one of them like that. Phenomenal. There was some good actors in there. It was a fun movie, and it was, sad at the end, obviously, but I honestly don't remember Brandon at all. Try to, think back. I'm trying to think, when it happened and everything, but I don't remember him, and it's a shame because what an inspiring individual. They actually give out an award now for the most impactful walk-on every year in his name. His family started a foundation to provide eye care for children that, can't afford it. Just great. They look like they're great people, and it's just a shame what happened. It was a great movie. I worth the time.
Okay. I've got a parting shot. Been building up with me all day. And we'll talk about Tom Herman. Candy will lynch in it too, of course. I got to know Tom Herman well. He's a really super nice guy. I hope he lands another job as an offensive coordinator in a Power 4 conference if that's what he chooses to desire. But the one thing I frowned upon in my book is trying to get it on there and it doesn't become true. All day long, I don't know whether it's ESPN and some of the other media outlets were saying that Ray Lewis is a candidate for the FAU job, and FAU vehemently denied it. I can tell you right now, I am so sick and tired of all these news outlets, and ESPN is just as guilty of it as anybody else, putting stuff out there before the ink has gone dry and a contract is signed. Part of being in our network is the fact that you get media distribution lists. That's when I know news is final. Is Ray Lewis qualified to be the head football coach at Florida Atlantic University? I'm going to tell you right now, absolutely not. I'll tell you why. The guy has never coached anywhere before. This is a very, very grueling industry. He needs to get experience, let alone at the high school level or a smaller Division III level or whatever. But he's not ready to take on an FAU job right now. He is not. Name appeal is one thing, but there's a fine line between name appeal, common sense, learning about the NIL, as well as the transfer portal. Now, I know Deion Sanders has done a good job, but Deion Sanders at least started at Jackson State, and then he goes to Colorado, and he did a good job at Jackson State, and he doesn't even really want to leave Colorado. Everybody's pressing him about leaving. Deion Sanders would love to be a big man on campus at Colorado, and he's done an exceptional job. So for those of you that are reporting out there that Ray Lewis would be an excellent candidate for the FAU job, you don't know what you're talking about, because I've gone out there and covered this university for a lot of years. I have. They have a nice on-campus facility. Problem is that because of their one-loss record, they haven't been able to put many people in the stands. It's a shame. There's no reason why they shouldn't be able to draw. They have a 30,000-seat stadium, and sometimes attendance figures are actually mentioned of how many tickets sold, not how many showed up. Problem is the sold tickets aren't going to get you over at the concession stand. That's what it's all about. Now, I know Brian White, the athletic director, as well. Brian Wright isn't going to go out there and make a hire this way without doing his research. Do you think that this man wants to be back in this situation 2-3 years from now? Usually what will happen is if you have a young coach that's any good, they're going to get another job anyways, to me. So they're going to use you as a stepping stone. They will. But the main thing is we're talking about, like William said, Scott, everyone needs experience taking careers in hand. Might be a great guy, but that's not the point. You're right. Okay. The reality, and that's a great comment, William. People have to crawl before they can walk. Ray Lewis hasn't done that. Once upon a time, Ray Lewis was in a situation in Atlanta involving murders. And he did not get convicted because he ratted on his friends to save his rear end. I'm not saying that he hasn't learned from that situation and that he's not a bad guy. He graduated from the University of Miami, had an outstanding career with the Baltimore Ravens. Man, was he a ferocious player out there. And obviously has a Super Bowl ring the show for it. And everybody deserves an opportunity to learn from their mistakes. Heck, I did a show on Monday about does Trevor Bauer deserve another chance to go MLB? And you know what I said on it? I said yes. Because you know why I said yes? Because I think he's learned his lesson. He played in Japan, Mexico, and there were some things that were falsely accused. But the reality is this. I am so sick and tired of everybody wanting to put it on first until it's completely signed, sealed, and delivered. But that's what we have. That's what my book is about, old school media versus new school media, okay? And that's what, and the new school media at times makes me all sick to my stomach because everybody's worried about clicks, but get it right. And the one person, for those of you that want to buy this book, that I talk about a lot is Frank Reynolds of ABC News, who had to deal with this situation during the Ronald Reagan assassination attempt. So I don't know who the next FAU coach is. I'm looking forward to working with that individual. If it is Ray Lewis, fine. At least I know that Brian White has done his due diligence, and then I have no problem. But 2 or 3 days after the fact that Tom Herman was let go, he knew that. He once told me that it takes at least 3 years to build a program. But I could see his frustration at the USF game when he went out there after the game and got into Alex Golish's face for USF that I hated to see this game go 4 hours and got in his face. Yeah, it was an ugly game for FAU to lose by a lot of points. But the reality is Tom was frustrated and he felt that it was time to maybe go back to a Power 4 school. He gave it a shot. He's been a winning coach, and I wish Tom and his family nothing but the best. And I even gave him a Motor City Madmouth hat when he requested one. And the athletic director and I know that we had a wonderful relationship. So God bless Tom Herman, and I hope that FAU gets it right. They have done it because in the spirit of the late Howard Schnellenberger took this program and built it from scratch. And I think one of the greatest things I've ever had was working with Coach Schnellenberger. So God bless to you, Tom. It's been fun working with you. And I truly hope Brian White and the rest of this school makes it their next hire a good one. Candy, you've been around. Anything else you want to add to this?
No, it's true. Like, stop reporting things that aren't true. You're just trying to feed into, the mainstream to try and get clicks and stuff like that. I get it, but you got to back up with some facts before you can start reporting things that are way off base.
Pretty much it is on my end. I want to thank everybody in the chat room for participating on this edition of the Sports Exchange. Pensman, I'm glad that you're on tonight. George Eichhorn is on assignment doing what he has to do. But Pensman, you showed me a lot of stuff, buddy. You've been a little real. Yeah, go ahead, by all means.
Stop saying Deion Sanders is the next Dallas Cowboy coach. If he likes Colorado, leave the man alone. Let him coach in Colorado. He's a Cowboy legend. I get it. But he also was a Falcon. I get it. But do not take him. I never heard him say that I am going to move to the NFL. The only thing he said is he's going to help his son pick a team in the NFL. And that's what a good father should do. But he didn't say I'm leaving Colorado. Stop reporting stuff that's not true. Get your facts straight.
Thanks, Pensman. Well said. I agree. I don't think he's leaving Colorado.
I don't think so either.
Or Dallas. If he goes anywhere else is one thing, but he's not going to Dallas in that freak show that you have over there called the Cowboys. But great point. I'm glad you also mentioned that. I want to thank everybody once again in the chat room for participating. I also want to say, Penman, you've done a great job here on Wednesday night. Maybe we'll even bring on as a fifth person to the show when Eichhorn comes back, but you handled yourself real well. I'm really proud of you.
Yeah, George is a Michigan guy, so as you can see, I am too, so we'll work.
Works good. So, all right, Candy, take us the rest of the way.
Last year, the South Florida Tribune published a book. It is called Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. Scott has talked about it. It talks about his 40-plus years in the industry and how it has changed over those 40 years. Get your copy today. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Google, and Apple Books. Audio book, hopefully coming either later this year or very early next year. We're working on it as we speak. There's a link on our website that you can go to get it. www.southfloridatribune.com. Scott writes, JB writes, I take pictures. You never know. Maybe we'll even get Pensman to write something one of these days. You never know.
JB
But
and I were talking about it tonight, so we'll see.
You go to our website, check it out. We have all kinds of other things. We have a link to our apparel store so you can get some South Florida Tribune sweatshirts, whatever you need. I know it's starting to get a little cooler outside for some of you. So go to the website, grab a Christmas present for somebody. You just never know what you might need. If you like to listen to podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, you can find ours. Monday nights we talk baseball. Tuesday nights we talk football. Wednesday nights here on Sports Exchange. You never know what we're going to be talking about. The same tomorrow night on Fire Up. You just never know. Although we will have our Thanksgiving edition tomorrow night, since we will be taking Thanksgiving off. So if you want to catch our Thanksgiving edition, it'll be tomorrow night at 9 o'clock. Preceding us tomorrow night is Fire Up Florida, which is Scott's hockey show where they talk hockey. And then preceding this tonight was on nofilter.net. Scott had the Motor City Mad Mouth show. If you want to sponsor a show or advertise, call Scott 954-304-4941. If you missed any of it, it's been scrolling on the bottom. JB, how can people get a hold of you?
JB_ the program on X, sidelinesportsnet.com, sidelinesportsnet.com. The website, Candy designed it. I write on there. Scott sometimes writes on there. Candy has some pictures. I'm sure they're up there. And the rest of the Sideline Sports people see all about the Super Bowl and everything else that we do there. Great website.
Yes. Pensman, how can people get a hold of you?
I have a channel of Pensman Sports. I have 632 subscribers. I'm trying to get to 1,000 by Christmas time. So if you guys would kindly subscribe, I appreciate it. And I'm on X on Pensman Sports.
Okay, Scott, back to you.
Well, Pensman, with your tenacity, I see no reason why you're not going to pick up subscribers. There's no doubt about it. I love your tenacity and your determination. The fact that you're really knowledgeable about a lot of stuff. So we're looking forward to having you on as many shows as you want to come on. Of course, we enjoy the partnership that we have with Sideline Sports as well. It's been a lot of fun with Joe and the rest of the gang. So, meanwhile, on behalf of Pensman, Candy, JB Ellis, my name is Scott Morganroth. Thank you for joining us in this edition of the Sports Exchange. We will not be doing a Sports Exchange next Wednesday night. So happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Enjoy the family, enjoy the food, and feel free to tell us your stories in the chat room about how good your Thanksgiving was. There are some games, a lot to watch. Candy's get the Packers and the Dolphins. I get the Lions and the Bears. And somebody has to deal with the Dallas Cowboys and the New York Giants. Oh, well, it is what it is. What can I say? But thank you very much for joining us. Happy Thanksgiving, and we will see you in 2 weeks. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night, guys.